Welcome to Down the Road with me, Joel Heitkamp. We got a lot of things we want to get a chance to talk about today. Dr. Larry Jacobs is going to join us. Dr. Jacobs is the director of the Center for the Study of Politics and Governance at the University of Minnesota. He's published 16 books, and so we're going to talk to him about what's going on in our nation's capital right now, who's winning, who's losing, how he sees this all playing out. Whether or not we'll ever get to the point where the Senate will actually convict on the charge of impeachment that the House is sending over to the Senate. It's going to be interesting. Dr. Jacobs is an individual that's got a lot of history. You don't get to be the head of a department like that unless you're a study when it comes to the American government. So we'll get a chance to visit with him in a little bit. Also, Greg Power. Now, who's Greg? Well, if you don't know who Greg Power is, you should. You should get to know him. Greg is he's division chief of the fisheries with North Dakota Game and Fish. How's it been ice fishing where you're at? Have you driven by, I should say, some of the sloughs and, seen the shanties out there? Has it been all tip-ups? Has it all been, just clams where you're pulling her over and you basically got it on a sled? I can tell you this, I had my fish house out for the last 2-3 weeks, and when I saw what the weather was going to be, I pulled it off the lake. My fish house has 8 different holes, and it's one of those fish houses where there's a reason that guys love to go ice fishing. But I wasn't going to let it sit out there and see that water swirling by it. The next thing you know, instead of the 11 inches of ice that I had by it, I end up with 4 inches. And at some point, I got to pull it out of there. So I did. I took it off the ice, and I'm hoping that I can put it back on soon. Obviously, with the weather the way it's been going, 105-mile-per-hour wind in Crosby. 105-mile-per-hour wind. And you're seeing in other places, 80, 90. I mean, that's just amazing. If you would have added in a whole bunch of snow at the same time, we'd be in complete lockdown. So it's, I guess we can't complain. We're in the middle of January, and, we've had a pretty tame winter so far. And even if it gets cold on us and gets a little wintry on us right now, you can already see some light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to this winter. I remember seeing guys planting in mid-March. And February is a short month, so be happy. Someday soon, we're all going to be out there between the vaccine and the weather. We're going to be out doing what we normally would do. Want to get a chance to visit with you, though, about an interview that I saw with Senator Kevin Cramer and CNBC. One thing about Senator Cramer, he doesn't mind doing an interview or two, and I like that, being somebody that's involved in media. Whenever I call him to come on my radio show or this show or whatever, they always give me an answer. They always try to work out a time. And I say that about him a lot because I appreciate it and I respect it. Now, what he says is a whole nother issue. We'll disagree, and we have disagreed many, many times. He was pushed on the issue of impeachment and on where we were going with the president after the House vote to impeach. You got to understand, there's been 2 different impeachments on Donald Trump. He's been impeached twice. No other president has that. None. And this is only a 1 term. Also, this was the most bipartisan vote to impeach ever in the history of America. So he's got that hanging around his neck, too. But take a listen to what Kevin Cramer said about President Trump.
Well, the president and his recent actions are 2 different things sometimes. I mean, for 4 years, I've stood by Donald Trump, not because I love him so much personally, although I do, but more because he's been very good for our country, very good for my state of North Dakota. We have enjoyed peace and prosperity like never before up until this last year when COVID-19 came to the United States. So I'm a strong supporter of the president's and think that his place in history is going to be overshadowed largely by the recent events. And I think that's very unfortunate. I, as you probably know, did not vote to object to any of the electors. I think, again, a clear reading of the Constitution says I don't have that authority. And so I did part with him on a few things. But by and large, I'm grateful for his service, but I have to admit that I've spent the last 2 days now interviewing 5 Biden nominees to the cabinet, and I want to get to the serious business of legislating and forming a new administration that we can work with, not continue to work against, which is what I'm afraid is going to happen if we continue with these theatrical impeachments that Nancy Pelosi seems to be bent on.
Now, if you're a frequent rider as we go down the road, you're going to know that I don't love him. I'm not talking about Kevin Cramer. That's a whole nother issue. I'm talking about Donald Trump. I don't love him, as Kevin Cramer professed to doing there. I mean, he truly loves this man, and he's been completely dedicated to this man. It shows. It shows in every way. And when he says that the Constitution doesn't allow him, well, that's pretty easy to see. It really is. Not the least of which it was pretty brilliant politically, because Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz are 2 individuals that are going to be held accountable for the riot. And so I get it. Kevin's always been smart politically. He has always been smart politically. But I don't know how he loves the man. I mean, Kevin and his wife have run around the state of North Dakota, talking about morality, talking about Christian beliefs, talking about all of these things. There is nothing about Donald Trump that I think of when I think of morality. There's nothing about Donald Trump when I think about Christian beliefs. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so to idolize the man, to say you love the man, it just leaves me kind of shaking my head. Because this is a man that incited a riot. This is a man that incited an insurrection. And this is a man who attempted a coup. I mean, that's what happened. The only person in Donald Trump's life that comes first and foremost isn't the country. It isn't his daughter or his sons or anything like that. The only individual that comes first in Donald Trump's life is Donald Trump. And if you don't believe me, ask the most loyal person, other than maybe Kevin Cramer, to President Trump. Ask him. Ask Mike Pence. Because he was thrown underneath the Greyhound or the Jackrabbit or the School, whichever one you want to call it, but he was thrown under the bus. He was. And that crowd that went to our Capitol was after Mike Pence. If you'd have talked to that crowd 6 months ago, they idolized Mike Pence. They did. They idolized him. He was loyal. He was part of this team. Every one of them had a bumper sticker that said Trump, Pence. You know, this was a guy with true conservative values and would do anything for Donald Trump. And all Mike Pence did was uphold what Kevin Cramer just described, his role in constitutional duty. If they'd have got him, they'd have hung him. We all know they would have hung Nancy Pelosi. I mean, they were after these guys, and they were after these people because of Donald Trump. Now, was the election rigged? I mean, for those of you, I'm never going to change your mind about whether or not you believe the election was rigged. You're going to believe the man that you are subservient to, the very man that Kevin Cramer would do anything for. You're going to believe Donald Trump. And if he tells you the election was rigged, then by God, it's rigged. That same man, Donald Trump, told you if I lose, the election's rigged. Remember that? Prior to Election Day, he started sprinkling those seeds and then putting some fertilizer on them and then watering them because he wanted it to grow. And he might have needed it to grow. Well, it turns out he did need it to grow. He needed to be able to tell individuals that he didn't lose the election, it was stolen from him. It wasn't. It wasn't. Go down to Georgia, look at the facts, look at all the court cases, look at all the things that would point to whether or not it was a stolen election. Remember the drawer that was stolen from underneath the table in Georgia? And remember when the final explanation came out from the Republican Secretary of State? How they were counting the votes and then they were shutting it down for a night. So they locked the box, they put it under the table so that it wouldn't get misplaced. Then they were told, you know what? You have to go back and keep counting. We're going to keep working. So then they go back to the table and they pull out the box, and then mischief had been put upon that box, right? Now, the video shows it wasn't. It wasn't. Remember the claims that that thousands of people that were dead voted? And the Secretary of State brought all of that information to the table, and he laid it down, and he said, two people that had died voted, and they voted before they died. So this wasn't a, hey, let's go grab a name and say, all right, let's have them vote, even though they had already passed away. It wasn't that at all. It wasn't. So lie after lie after lie caused the insurrection. Lie after lie after lie caused the attempted coup. Now, the U.S. Congress has voted to impeach. That's headed over to the Senate. One of the big questions that we want to get a chance to visit with Dr. Jacobson about today is whether or not they can. Can they impeach a president after he's left office? Because Mitch McConnell is smart enough to know that that's a hot cup of coffee. And so you can take that hot cup of coffee, you can set it over here, and it'll cool down, and you won't be the one that burns your tongue on it, right? In fact, you can put it over here, and the Democrats are going to have to drink that coffee because they now, after all of this, will control the United States Senate. And they will, in large part, because of Donald Trump. And so think about all that. Think about the fact that in the first term, and the only term, I hope, of the Trump presidency, he lost the Senate, he lost the House, and he lost the presidency. And yet the loyalty still remains. The revisionist history is still there. The fact that they can look you right in the eye and lie to you about things that you know not to be true, but you want them to be true, right? You want them to be true. You want them to be what Kevin Cramer says. You just want all of that to be true because then you won't lose your Donald Trump. You know what? On January 20th, Joe Biden will be president of the United States. Period. Plain and simple. And it's time for new administration in this country. When we back, Dr. Larry Jacobs from the University of Minnesota joins us right after this.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Heroes and Icons is changing to Cozy TV on January 18th. Don't worry, you'll still get your favorite Beck News programming without changing the channel. Real people, real news, Beck News.
Welcome back to Down the Road. In a little bit, we're going to be joined by Dr. Larry Jacobs from the University of Minnesota. He's an expert when it comes to the study of politics and governance. He's written 16 books on the subject and 16 books on many different subjects, but there's a lot to talk about in relation to what we're doing here in our country now. I mean, really, if you think about what you want to ask Dr. Jacobs, I mean, I always think of things like this because it's my job to, right? So I'm sitting here thinking, what would I like to talk to him about? Well, there's certain things clearly that I'm not sure of, but he might just have an opinion that is educated in the sense that he's got a lot of history behind him. But I think we're going down a road that nobody's gone down before because we're going to impeach a president and hold a trial for the president in the United States Senate after that man is no longer president. I mean, think about that. We're about to hold a trial in the United States Senate for a man that's been impeached by the House who is no longer a United States president. I mean, those are questions that are going to end up, I would guess, being decided by the courts. But I want to ask Dr. Jacobs that as soon as we're able to get him on here. Also, want to get a chance to I just want to get a chance to ask him about where this is going to fall in terms of the history of the United States of America. So let's bring him in. Dr. Larry Jacobs, good to have you on, sir.
And apologies that I was a little late. I got ambushed.
Ambush might not be a good word to use these days, but yeah, it's okay. Just the fact that we can get you on, we really appreciate it. When you saw, I'm going to use words that I don't know if you want to use, but I'm going to use them because I think I'm right. When you saw the insurrection, when you saw the attempted coup happening at the Capitol, what was your first impression?
Disbelief. And then horror, sadness, and anger. I think there were many patriots on January 6th, starting with the outnumbered police officers, and we saw many who put their lives and limbs in danger. They were grossly outmanned and poorly led, in my view. We saw legislators, some of whom acted in a heroic manner in trying to defend their chamber. We had staff, some of whom acted with remarkable intelligence and calm, grabbing the Electoral College votes just as the rioters were invading the Senate body. So there were a lot of remarkable people. I thought, both sides of the aisle, you could point to tremendous leaders. And, on the Republican side, which has not gotten a lot of, I would say credit, I thought the conduct of Senator McConnell and Vice President Pence were admirable given the circumstances and the pressure they were under.
I think you're right about that. And when you talk about crashing into the parliamentarian's office and trashing that, the history of what that room holds is absolutely astounding. And for young people to get those locked boxes out of there, it's just, I couldn't agree with you more. When you looked at it, though, when you had a chance to reflect, in the beginning when I saw it, I saw just a group of people who had been told to walk down to the Capitol and were doing exactly what they were told to do based upon a rally. Get to this rally. You got to do this. We're going to change things. Get, that type of mentality. But after looking at it with a deeper review, do you believe it's orchestrated? When you see someone there with zip ties, ready to handcuff, when you see someone who knows where the parliamentarian office is, when you see some of the things that happened, do you think this was organized?
Well, I think there were different parts of it. I think some of it were, patriotic Americans who had heard the president's call and showed up for a rally. There were many people like that. There were also extremist groups. These are not patriots. These are folks who are bloodthirsty and criminals. And they took advantage of that opportunity, that confusion, that chaos. We are being told by security forces that they are seeing patterns of coordination in which there were small teams that had designated points to go to. It looks to them like a paramilitary operation. We have the U.S. prosecutor in Washington, D.C., and the Justice Department talking about charges for sedition because of the organized and conspiratorial nature of it. We have 30 Democrats in the House who have come forward and said they believe that tours were being given to some of these groups on January 5th, the day before the riots. There's just a lot of questions and concerns. What I am confident about is that, in a month or two, we are going to have the facts out. Both Senator McConnell, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, and Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the Democrats in the House, have committed to what they're describing as a 9/11 type commission that will get to the bottom of this. And we're going to know the answers. I agree with you. This was not just an innocent sort of let's show up and go to a rally and things got out of control. There were criminal elements that took advantage of that chaos that I think the president helped to stoke.
Do you believe that if they had gotten their hands on, and I know this is pure speculation, but do you believe that if they had gotten their hands on Nancy Pelosi or Mike Pence, they would have been dead by now?
It's quite possible. We certainly heard a lot of chatter of folks who wanted to do that. If they hadn't been shot or killed outright, they may have been held hostage. In a lot of ways, America suffered a tragedy on January 6th. Individual security officials and their families suffered a tragedy. And America may well have gotten off easy compared to what we will discover, I think, as the investigation goes deeper. The main thing to know is we are at the beginning of this investigation. We know that there are about, a bit over 100 people who have been charged, arrested, or being sought for interrogation. We're being told there are hundreds more who are being sought after. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. This will be a very thorough investigation. There is nothing about sweeping this under the rug. This is not a partisan issue. This is really about defending the United States of America.
Well, and along those lines, in our next segment, I'm going to want to talk to you about the politics of this and not the mechanics of what you're talking about, whether or not Mitch McConnell is outsmarting in terms of his strategy of what he's playing here. Another question I'm going to have for you is I'm going to want to know what you think is happening behind when it comes to Liz Cheney. I'm a former state senator. I served there for 14 years, and I can tell you this, many of us, when we got up in the morning and shaved, didn't see a state senator, we saw a governor. And so I think that Liz Cheney sees herself as a president someday. I truly believe that. And so, I'm really curious what you're going to say when I ask you about, some of the motive and some of what she might know that others don't. That like you said, Dr. Jacobs, there are things that we're going to find out. But some people already know some of that. I mean, some people already know some of that. How is this going to affect Donald Trump's place in history?
Is that a question? Sorry.
Yeah. How is this going to affect Donald Trump's place in history? How is he going to be remembered?
I think Donald Trump will be remembered as a traitor. I just don't think any president will recover from the shame of calling together and then inspiring a mob to descend on the Capitol. Did he intend for people to get killed? Did he intend for the vice president and the speaker's lives to be threatened? I don't know, but his hand in this is unmistakable. It is not really a matter of dispute, in my view. And I think people of goodwill see that. Most Republicans, I believe, recognize that. And you see that because there was a supermajority for censure, and they accepted the underlying set of facts that I've just described.
You know, there's no question in my mind that if you had a dark board that was registering votes and people could vote anonymously, that there would be overwhelming support to impeach the president in the United States Senate. When we come back to politics, the opportunity of something as tragic and disgusting as what we saw at our Capitol. We'll visit with Dr. Jacobs about that when we come back to Down the Road.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here were terrific. We enjoy it.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
He was good enough to let us hang on to him, Dr. Larry Jacobs. 16 different books he's published. You're going to want to go online and check all of those out. He's with the University of Minnesota. He's a professor, and he is the director of the Center for the Study of Politics and Governance at the University of Minnesota. Dr. Jacobs, before the break, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, as with any circumstance, opportunity comes when it comes to politics. And we were talking about, prior to that, I was saying with Liz Cheney's vote, to vote to impeach. She's the number 3 ranking person for the Republicans in the House, and yet she voted to impeach. Why do you think that is?
Well, you know, I've known the Cheney family. I've studied certainly her father for decades. And I do believe that at the base is a belief in the Constitution. And I think there was no doubt that what the president was doing was a threat to the Constitution. So I think it was principle-based. She also sees an opportunity to, set herself apart. She stands as a beacon of principle. She's certainly a very conservative Republican, there's no doubt about that. But she's not willing to, toss the Constitution in the gutter. And she will be remembered for that. It gives her a unique brand among Republicans. And I think at some point in the near future, the Republican Party is going to have to come to terms with the fact that it will not be a majority party unless it turns the corner.
So when it comes to Liz Cheney, there are very few people whose father is as connected to government as what hers is. The daughter of Dick Cheney, former vice president, you can use former all day long to describe the man. He's held every high position of government I think you can, other than president. And actually I think George W. went under anesthesia for a while, and you could argue that he was. That being said, he knows people. He knows how to contact people. I've been, my theory has been for a while now that one of the reasons Liz did what she did yesterday has been because her father knows there's more coming. There's more information coming out that is going to make those who voted for impeachment look a lot smarter than those that didn't. And I want to know what you think about my theory.
Well, I think I would certainly sign on to your theory. She has a lot more information than probably most members of Congress about what was going on in the military, the threat of potential, deviant factions joining, a siege of Congress. There was real fear that led Dick Cheney and all living defense secretaries to sign a letter of real concern. On the other hand, the Republican Party, to win the nomination, you've got to win the support of a very small number of party activists who are conservative and far more conservative than most rank and file conservative Republicans. So that's going to be her challenge. She is now a marked politician in the eyes of that, whether they're Trumpers or they are simply, super loyal Republicans. They see her as a traitor. Now, I do believe that the Republican Party is going to be facing the music at some point. They've got a political strategy that's isolating them as the country changes. They're now sided, some of them, with a traitor, and they've got to find a way out. Liz Cheney could be part of that solution.
So, when I think about Mitch McConnell and how I personally might disagree with his politics or strategies, but by and large, he's outsmarted the Democrats many, many times politically. Is this another one of those times that playing the schedule, playing the timing of the hearing, playing the crossover from being the majority into the minority? I'm curious what you think about Mitch McConnell in this whole process.
So to start off with, Mitch McConnell is scared. You've got Bernie Sanders, a noted socialist, who's now chair of the Budget Committee in the Senate. You've got promises by the president-elect to pass trillions of dollars of new spending for the coronavirus, for starting the economy, and other matters. Now, you could be 100% on board, but here's what Mitch McConnell has done, I think. He has leaked to the press that he might entertain supporting impeachment. He never said it publicly, but it gave Democrats this false hope that maybe Mitch McConnell will join them. And we'll see if that happens. The bigger thing, though, is Mitch McConnell has kind of set a snare in which Democrats have now passed impeachment. It will go over to the Senate, and this will be a trial that will last for weeks. So rather than Joe Biden kind of ricocheting out of his inaugural address and passing bipartisan legislation for coronavirus and the economy, and then using reconciliation to do infrastructure and everything else he wants to do, he's going to be knocked off his game for probably a month. And he's lost that tremendous opportunity and momentum. Instead, we'll be coming at this, let's say in March, and trying to stitch together coalitions. It's very damaging to Joe Biden. It is a brilliant strategy by Mitch McConnell, just taking what the Democrats are giving him to really smother Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden.
See, I don't think I'm very bad at math. In fact, there's only a couple subjects in school that I really like, math being one of them. And Mitch McConnell's good at it. He can count. He can count noses. He knows where his caucus is. Either way, what you just described, he's covered. If he doesn't vote for impeachment, he knows the numbers, and he knows he's on the right side with his caucus. And if he's counting numbers and he knows that, that Mitt Romney and others have led, and then, you've got a number from Collins to Murkowski to all of these individuals who have said, no, I'm voting to impeach. And if that number grows, then he's covered as well. He can come out and say, look, or make that trip to the White House. Actually, it'll be done by the White House then, but just go along with it. I want to talk about the Republican Party. I want to talk about what they do now, because in the next, you can say he's going to be off Twitter, you can say all of that, but Donald Trump is the face and is the individual that 32% of which the radical part of that 32% were represented at the Capitol that day on January 6th. Donald Trump still has them. And he's going to have them until the day he dies. And so where does the Republican Party go? If the Liz Cheneys want some semblance of dedication to the Constitution and some actual good governance, do they have to form a new party?
I think the Republican Party has a very difficult stretch ahead. The Democrats during the 80s had a split between the left and the moderates. But this time around, you've got a split in the Republican Party that adds sedition and insurrection and treason to it. So this is not going to be an easy path. It's going to hurt the Republicans. The one thing I would say, though, is there is a very reliable pattern that midterm elections hurts the president's party. And, the question being, and Joe Biden knows this and I think is very focused on it, is can Joe Biden and the Democrats escape punishment for whatever over the next 2 years when November of 2022 rolls around, even though Republicans have all the problems we're talking about. And it's going to be tough. I would not be betting on the Democrats picking up seats in November 2022, even though Republicans are split in a very severe way.
I think you're right. The only thing that might change that is some sort of trickle of information, some sort of, hey, this was what was going on in the Trump White House. We have documentation for that. Like I said, he's always going to have the 32% of the, 4 million people voted for Donald Trump for president. They're out there. There's people that'll put a check behind his name. Dr. Jacobs, this is always fun. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Great to be with you.
You bet.
And be well.
We're going to get a chance to visit with Greg Power. Who's Greg? Well, you should know who he is. If you like to ice fish, he's the Division Director of Fisheries for the North Dakota Game and Fish. Stick around. This is going to be some fun.
Howdy, folks. It's the County Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the County Line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering, it's the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
All right, we still got you in the rig, and you're still coming down the road with us. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while. Greg Power. Now, who's Greg? Well, doggone it, if you like going outdoors, you should know who he is. He's the Fisheries Division Chief for the North Dakota Game and Fish. Let's bring him in. Greg, good to have you coming down the road with us.
That's good to be here, Joel.
All right, let me whine. Let me begin. Well, everybody watching is going to say, "Hey, can't you whine every time you open your mouth?" But let me just say this. Had my big fish house out on the lake I live, on LC, and we were catching fish. We were having fun. And then this warmer weather hit. I pulled it off. I mean, I was afraid to keep it out there. What are you seeing around the state?
Yeah, that's a very good topic to discuss. Is ice safety. And North Dakota by mid-January, that's typically, other than a pressure ridge or a bridge crossing, something like that, it's not an issue. Ice is good. 2021 now, different story. Ice. In North Dakota, there's such a widespread. You go south and west of the Missouri River, ice is never really that good. A good year, you might have 12 inches at Bowman Haley, right? Langdon City Pond, you might have 40 inches. But this year, almost statewide, you got to be careful out there. Our ice was slow to form, and now this last week with first the warm weather and now this wind, it's a bad recipe. So be very, even if you're using a tracked vehicle, snow bear or something to pull on an ice house, be careful, real careful.
Yeah, that's good advice. I took mine out with my Ranger, and this happened to me before, Greg. I had a fish house out one time. This was years ago. I was in my 20s, and we had some warm weather like this, and I was too. I'm going to use the word foolish because my mom didn't like it when I said stupid, but I was too stupid to realize what was going on. And so while I had 15 inches of ice inside it, where the sun reflected next to it, when I took my bar and I stuck it in to loosen it up to move it, I just went right through the ice. I mean, I wonder at times if people don't realize how powerful that is when it reflects off your house and then the wind swirls it around.
Especially anything dark, right? It's a big difference, obviously, December, January, and the sun angle versus March. I mean, March is really bad, but anything dark is going to absorb the heat if you have a couple sunny days. So, yeah, do be careful. One thing I've noticed, I've been out and about a fair amount this winter, work and play, and I've been to probably 20 lakes and throughout maybe central part of the state. And one thing that's a game changer is all these tracked vehicles out there, all these things. And one of the good things is I'm seeing a lot less interest in half-ton, three-quarter-ton, even one-ton trucks going out on 11 inches of ice. They have something to pull their house out with, so that's probably a good deal. So
yeah, and we had a couple individuals that didn't have that ability to pull their house out, and yet somebody else did, so they came and pulled it out for them. And so, you know, you're spot on right about that. The technology is completely taking care of that. How about the fish? Are they biting around the state? What are you hearing? Give me a little inside track here.
Well, ice fishing is kind of a continuation of open water season, and you know, good, bad, or otherwise, there's a little bit of COVID related to this too. We've seen it nationwide, seen it throughout the state. The outdoor participation in anything outdoors, right? Camping, it doesn't matter what it is, has really had a major uptick this last year. We were wondering if we're going to see that into the ice fishing season. You know, what we saw this summer, the open water season, and so far, absolutely. We've seen a lot more activity. Again, maybe COVID. It's also been a very open winter. Access is not an issue. I mean, snow-wise, you know, you can get on lakes. And then our fish populations, for the most part, are in pretty good shape. So you put that all together, it's been a perfect storm for, you know, fishing effort out there. We're seeing a lot of traffic.
You know, in your time involved in the fisheries and at Game and Fish, I mean, I keep going back to this in my house. I got a Markham, I got a Vexilar, I've got this, I mean, things have really changed when it comes to the technology and the tools you have to fish.
It's incredible, isn't it? You go back, I started, you know, I'm in my 60s now, but I started on Sweetbriar Dam, west of Mandan, just when the interstate was completed and built the dam. And I remember ice fishing then. You didn't have four-wheel drive trucks then. It was basically station wagons. And if you're lucky, you had a battery operated from your car battery auger. But most people had hand augers. And you fast forward to 2021, and every toy out there, it is incredible how that sport has changed.
I took my gas auger, and I was pretty good about when I put it away, I dumped the gas out of her, and then I ran her until she was done. And I remember doing that. But I haven't cranked it up for, I bet you 3-4 years. Put some fuel in it, and it ran. But I still didn't use it. I just wanted to know if it would run, because everything's electronic now. I mean, I got a battery-operated ice auger that takes about 2 seconds. I mean, I got to be honest with you, I'm loving it. I can watch the football game from inside my fish house because I got satellite capability. I know that makes me sound spoiled, Greg, but I love to go ice fishing.
Well, and that's part of it. Ice fishing has always been more than catching fish. It's been a social issue, you know, so family and friends get together. In the old days, you had skid ice houses out there, and you had a wood-burning stove, and you cooked your sausage on it, and come a long, long ways from those days. But it's meant to have fun, and that's a good thing. You know, this might be a good point. One of the downsides of ice fishing, though, in events like that is people, and we bring this up a lot, out of place, out of mind when it comes to litter. You know, there's a snowbank out there, you throw anything out there, wind's blowing, it covers it up, it's gone. Well, you come springtime, you go to our lakes, it can be pretty disgusting. So it's probably a good time to urge people, have fun, do all that stuff, but clean up after, pack it in, pack it out.
That's a perfect example. I'll go down the pheasant hunting route, Greg. I had some great land south of Mott before it all kind of turned into the whole cannonball deal, but we had some great land down there, great old farmer that would let us hunt. He since has passed, but you know, we went on knocking on his door one day, you know, asking him if we could go on that land again. He said, you know what, you can. And the reason you can is because you don't leave me with 90 dead carcasses of birds. You don't clean them on your end gate and leave me with a great big pile there. But I'll tell you what, there's guys that never will get on that land again. And you pay a price for that stuff. I mean, you really do.
Yep, and you know, again, ice fishing is a little bit different than hunting or open water fishing because, again, the wind blows in North Dakota, and normally we have snow. So I think people, I don't know, they have a very short memory sometimes. Think it just mysteriously goes away. But wow, you get all, again, when that ice starts going out in the spring of the year, some of our lakes can be pigsties out there, and you know, we can do better than that.
Are you ever worried about some of the ice fishermen, you know, lying too much? I mean, I was talking to a buddy the other day who was out fishing in a slough that was, you had to go through a guy's yard to get there, and it's a pretty good spot. And he was like, they're not biting very much there. I come over the hill, and there is a village of people there. I went fishing for a little bit. Next thing you know, didn't take long, you know, and I had my limit. But are you ever worried? and I'm saying this to be, kind of joking, but in this sense, how do you gauge it as the head of fisheries? How do you know for sure what's happening when not everybody's going to tell you the truth?
Well, there's two parts to that. Our nets, our surveys, they give our biologists a pretty good snapshot of the lake. But if we have some type of angler questionnaire or creel survey or something on the lake, you're right. You got to take it with a grain of salt sometimes. In all seriousness, the profession has learned. For example, creel survey. You get somebody surveys you at a boat ramp, and if you're a middle-aged man or somebody that's threatening looking, that's doing the survey, that can be a turnoff to the people that are getting interviewed, and they often are short with them. Now, if you're a very pleasant housewife, and I don't mean to be, it's just how people are perceived, they are a lot more willing and freely give that information, so fishing, I think, is a part of the fishing is the stories. Everybody's a bar stool biologist, right? And, it's as a profession, we gotta, you just, with experience, you learn to weed some of that out.
I know you're good at what you do. I know that. Greg, thanks for what you do on behalf of all of our us sportsmen and women. I appreciate it.
You bet. Get out there, have fun, but be safe.
Yep, and clean up. He's right about that. Greg Power, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, a couple of closing remarks. And gee, I wonder if it's going to be about the attack upon our capital. Right after this, as we go down the road.
Howdy, folks. It's the Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a cum roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink for trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Well, it's been another fun trip going down the road with you, but I want to leave you with these thoughts. Was the riot, was the insurgency, was the attempted coup on our nation's capital, was it pre-planned? Was it? I think it was. I think in some cases it certainly was. I'm not saying that every idiot that was breaking windows and rushing into that Capitol was part of some master plan. What I'm saying is there were groups that used that as an opportunity to do what was being asked of them to do. The big question is, we got to get right to the bottom of who was asking. Now, there's no question that the president sent all kinds of signals out there to people that you come to D.C. and we're not going to stand for this. We're going to go down, we're going to change this. In fact, his attorney, Rudy Giuliani, said, get your butt to the Capitol. He didn't say it that way, but he did say this. It's going to be trial by combat. What does that mean? That means, in my personal opinion, that Rudy Giuliani needs to be arrested. And I do believe that he will be arrested. But the point I'm trying to get at is this. When you have people in flak jackets and helmets and zip ties, that image of somebody with zip ties ready to be used as handcuffs, they were hunting. They were hunting before they ever got there. It wasn't the rage that they had. It wasn't the mob mentality that they had. These were people that were there by design, and it was being orchestrated. These were the ones that were on that second tier and smart enough to let the foot soldiers go in and do what they did. So next thing you know, one of them sitting there with his feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk, and that's where the attention goes. That isn't who these individuals were that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that put the pipe bombs out. I'm talking about the people that wanted to get to Mike Pence and they wanted to get to Nancy Pelosi because they don't want a democracy anymore. They don't want the type of democracy that doesn't fit their far right-wing needs, and they sure don't like people of color. And they were about to change it. Good riding with you, folks.